A powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake has triggered a series of tsunami warnings and evacuation orders across Japan, the west coast of the United States, and parts of the Pacific. The second day of the Voices of the New World Forum kicked off in Caracas, Venezuela, with debates focused on the right to truth, peace, and self-determination of peoples. And the Israeli regime plans to block civilian populated areas of the Gaza Strip to pressure the Palestinian resistance for not accepting negotiations. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. A powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake has triggered a series of tsunami warnings and evacuation orders across Japan, the west coast of the United States, and parts of the Pacific after shaking the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. The earthquake was the strongest in the region since 1952, according to the Russian Academy of Sciences. It occurred at a depth of 19.3 kilometers and had its epicenter 126 kilometers east-southeast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, a city located in Anwasha Bay. In this context, a tsunami between 3 and 4 meters high was recorded in some areas of Kamchatka, according to Sergei Lebedev, Regional Minister of Emergency Situations, with reports of several injuries. And tsunami waves nurtured by the most powerful earthquake that has occurred in Russia since 1952 reached up to 5 meters in that territory. While Japan and the United States report waves of between 1 and 2 meters, so far, no fatalities have been reported. Russia, Japan, the United States, and Guam issued urgent evacuation orders from coastal areas after the powerful 8.8 earthquake that shook Kamchatka. The covered islands were impacted by strong waves, power outages, and several aftershocks. Meanwhile, Hokkaido was the first Japanese city to receive the wave impact. Thus, over 900,000 people were evacuated, as well as all workers at the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Likewise, the U.S. territories of Hawaii and Alaska reported waves of up to 2 meters. In addition, dangerous currents and sea level rises are expected in New Zealand, the Philippines, Guam, Canada, and Australia. Also in this context, tsunami alerts were issued in Latin American countries bordering the Pacific Ocean. Tsunamis with wave possibly exceeding 4 meters are approaching in several Latin American countries such as Mexico, El Salvador, and Honduras after hitting Japan and Hawaii. Peruvian authorities have already issued emergency alerts and announced the closure of Costa Verde in Lima, while the Choco and Nariño regions in Colombia were among the first localities in the country to receive the alert. While the Chilean government estimated the arrival of the tsunami at 10 a.m. local time, Ecuador had already spotted waves of up to 1.4 meters high in the Galapagos Islands. In Venezuela, the government not only offers financing to entrepreneurs, but also technical support and training. In this episode of Venezuela on the Move, we visit a farm where 3 varieties of specialty coffee are grown, accompanied by our correspondent, Ayana Sibori.
Hello, nice to greet you. Generally, in many countries in the world, private banks give loans to individuals to raise their initiatives, but the interest they charge in several occasions drowns the applicant, and in the end falls into bankruptcy. Starting something new in life as a business, an idea, is a challenge. Sometimes the need drives it, other times an opportunity is given. A mixture of conditions are met in Venezuela. We took on the task of finding out how in the last year public funds have contributed to the development of entrepreneurs, and in Venezuela, on the move we noticed that it is not only about money.
En el vivero se preparan las semillas.
In the nursery, the seeds are prepared. Here they are protected in an area where they take advantage of the sunlight. When they reach the right size, they are planted directly in the ground. These mountains are optimal for planting, but the road is not suitable for any vehicle. We continue on foot for 10 minutes and we arrive at the Forest of Light.
Llegamos a Bosque de Luz.
La tranquilidad, el sonido de
The tranquility, the sound of birds, that connection with nature is so beautiful. That is what my experience is, and the name came from there because it is a forest. While up there is more light, while we come down, it is a forest. So I made the combination of my experience. It's what I feel every time I come here, and I wanted to give honor to the farm with that name.
Una finca con arbustos
A farm with centenary shrubs, originally from Ethiopia. The first ones arrived in Venezuela around 1730 from Brazil.
730 desde Brasil.
Todo eso es café.
This is typical coffee, the best called coffee criollito, the one that arrived, the mothers of everything that can be called coffee.
Lo que se puede llamar café. De aquí para
A Amarilis, la pandemia la obligó a
To Amarilis, the pandemic forced her to immerse herself in the world of coffee growing. She already produces 3 varieties of specialty coffee. It was a long journey with state support, opting for learning and technical support, rather than financing.
técnico más que el financiamiento.
se han abocado a apoyarnos a nosotros en la
They have been dedicated to supporting us in the education part. In the training part we have done. I did the diploma course of the second court of coffee teachers. That is a great support that they are giving us, because in fact, from there we have learned many things. In this case, with the typical coffee, we did not know what a soqueo was. We did not know how to do so that these plants could take life.
para que esas plantas pudieran agarrar vida.
Se cae la hoja.
Alberto sobre el terreno es quien
Alberto is the one who teaches about coffee plants, their complications, their cycles, their possible diseases, and their care.
posibles enfermedades y sus cuidados.
Ese es mi conocimiento, mi experiencia.
I pass on my knowledge and my experience to producers who have not had the same training that I have. So it's nice, because you multiply knowledge, so you multiply to see other people do things as they should be done.
Otras personas también hacen las cosas como debe ser.
Preocupado con los efectos del cambio.
Concerned with the effects of climate change, he offers a solution.
Sembrar más árboles. ¿Por qué?
Plant trees, because when we plant a tree we are planting water, and we are planting oxygen. Do you understand me? So, what happens when we plant trees in those coffee plantations that are in the open sky? We are controlling the solar radiation to the plants.
La radiación solar a las plantas.
Una parte de Bosque de Luz es
Part of the
árido.
Forest of Life is a protected area, full of trees. No pesticides are used in the plantations. This is a farm where for people work, but Amarilis is in front of it.
Frente está Amarilis.
Me gustaría llegar a exportar el café.
I would like to export coffee to make our coffee known at an international level. I would like to share that in Venezuela, a good coffee is produced, a specialty coffee, and if it comes from a woman's hand, even more, because women play a very important role in the coffee growing industry, and now women are taking over a lot of this. Behind a great cup of a specialty coffee, there is an excellent woman's hand.
En realidad está una excelente mano de mujer.
La producción de café venezolano de
The
calidad
production of quality Venezuelan coffee, in ascending recovery, is expanding in international markets such as Japan and the United States. More than 86,000 quintals have been exported this year. Coffee is the second most consumed beverage in the world after water.
La más consumida en el mundo después del agua.
Datos del gobierno arrojan que existe
Government data show that there are 1,800,000 new enterprises generating income and jobs since 2021. By law, the creation of public policies is contemplated, which in addition to financing, provide training to the sector, which grew by 59%. We say goodbye for now, but we are still on the way. I invite you to stay connected to our multi-platform.
mientras los invito a seguir conectados a nuestra multiplataforma.
We now have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The second day of the Voices of the New World Forum kicked off in Caracas, Venezuela, with debates focused on the right to truth, peace, and self-determination of peoples. This Wednesday, more than 220 delegates and communicators from various Global South countries gathered to exchange knowledge and experiences on confronting the media blockade. The meeting paid tribute to the victims of the genocide in Palestine and highlighted the challenges journalism faces amid an algorithmic dictatorship. According to the agenda, the meeting will conclude with the presentation of the Alliance of Journalists for communication in the Global South founding document. And in southern Venezuela, the Bolivarian National Armed Forces carried out a successful rescue operation saving the lives of 3 people who were victims of an aircraft accident in a remote area of the Amazonas state jungle. According to authorities, the aircraft, which was transporting Venezuelan citizens from the Yanomami people, was heading to the town of Parimapi, located in the municipality of Alto Orinoco. Upon learning of the accident, the armed forces immediately activated a search and rescue operation, mobilizing resources and personnel to the area of the accident. It is important to note that although the weather conditions and the location of the accident present significant challenges, the response by the authorities was effective. And the conviction of former President Álvaro Uribe, the maximum leader of the right wing in Colombia, poses a series of challenges in some scenarios at the political and legal level that also transcend at the international level. Our correspondent Hernán Tobar with the details.
Once it was known the sense of the ruling by Judge Sandra Heredia condemning the former President Álvaro Uribe Vélez for the crimes of bribery in criminal proceedings and procedural fraud, the reactions have been multiple. For some analysts, it will affect in various areas.
Esto va a tener un impacto político indudable.
This is going to have an unquestionable political impact. I think it is going to be a momentary political impact of 1 or 2 weeks. He is still an important politician for Colombia, but he is a politician in decline. He was important because he was president 20 years ago. So I think the impact is being overestimated, but obviously the Democratic Center is going to come out and say they are politically persecuted and victims. I do not think this is going to last in the long term because they do not have a consolidated presidential candidate. It will be a 1, 2 or 3 week downturn.
Consolidado. Será un fogonazo de unas 2 o 3 semanas.
El caso también trascendió en el ámbito
internacional. The case also transcended in the international arena. The U.S. Secretary of State made a statement rejecting the conviction against the former president. For specialists, his announcement of support for Uribe not only demonstrates his political closeness, but also represents a clear interference in Colombia's internal affairs.
Las relaciones entre Colombia y Estados Unidos están acompañadas de...
The relations between Colombia and the United States are accompanied by what are divergent political positions. But in any case, it is convenient to maintain relations between the 2 countries for many reasons, economic, political, social, but this normality of relations cannot sacrifice the position of autonomy and sovereignty of the Colombian state. It is an unacceptable position, an interference that cannot be tolerated, and Colombia must emphatically reject this intervention of the United States Secretary of State.
Mientras organizaciones de derechos humanos esperan que Uribe respete.
While human rights organizations expect Uribe to respect the ruling against him and reiterate that this is not a political trial and will wait until August 1st to hear the sentence that Judge Sandra Heredia will impose on Álvaro Uribe. In this regard, the prosecution has requested a sentence of 9 years and the place of his imprisonment will be determined. The judge herself has outlined the possibility of house arrest. The defense of the condemned man has already warned that it will appeal the ruling for review in the second instance.
What we hope in any case is that he does not turn this sentence against him into a court to continue destroying the institutionality, to continue affecting democratic governance. I believe it is time for him to retire from public life and take this as a lesson. Because let's remember that this is not a political persecution of President Gustavo Petro. Let's remember that this started more than 14 years ago when he tried to indict before the Supreme Court of Justice Senator Cepeda for the same crimes for which he has been convicted today.
Luego de la publicación de la sentencia,
after the publication of the sentence, Uribe's defense will have 5 days to file the appeal in the second instance. The appeal must be resolved by the Superior Court of Bogotá, which must review the ruling and make a determination before October 16, when the criminal action against Uribe Vélez becomes time-barred.
Escribe la acción penal en contra de Álvaro Uribe Vélez. Hernán Darío Tobar Gaitán, TeleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
Argentine President Javier Milei blamed Tuesday banks for the unprecedented rise in the value of dollar. Ironically, he had to request them to lend him funds to pay the debt that finally became due. In response, bankers agreed on giving him 9 billion pesos under their conditions, and they refused to lend him the 11 trillion 800,000 billion pesos President Milei had requested. Subsequently, the Argentine head of state raised the interest rate from 46% to 65%. Nonetheless, he could not pay the debt that came due on Tuesday. As a result, the government scored a new defeat in the economic agenda, which accumulates more debt and more high interest, a decision Milei criticized earlier. We now have our second break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. The final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The Israeli regime plans to block civilian populated areas of the Gaza Strip to pressure the Palestinian resistance for not accepting negotiations. The occupation forces' plan includes a total ban on the entry of food, water, and any humanitarian aid. The Israeli army, although it has not formally approved the measure, is considering implementing the blockade simultaneously or in stages in the areas of Gaza City, the refugee camps in the center, and the Al-Mawasi humanitarian zone. The Zionist regime in Tel Aviv once again attacked the welfare of the Palestinian people despite the humanitarian catastrophe it has caused during months of attacks, forced displacements, and blockades. And on Wednesday, the Palestinian Ministry of Health issued a warning about an increase in death from malnutrition and hunger in the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours. Health authorities reported 7 deaths from starvation and malnutrition, including 1 child. So far, health authorities report that 151 Palestinians have died of starvation, including 89 children. Indicators warn of a serious risk of famine in the Palestinian enclave, where food consumption and nutrition levels are at their worst since the beginning of the conflict. And China demands the Israeli regime to immediately end military operations in Gaza and fully lift the blockade on vital aid. Spokespersons for the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Guo Jiakun, said Gaza is living an unprecedented catastrophe after 21 months of the Israeli blockade of humanitarian aid. China holds the Zionist government responsible for the over 140 deaths from malnutrition, based on figures from the World Health Organization. The Asian giant's position contrasts with that of 17 countries, including France, Spain, Canada, and Arab nations such as Jordan and Saudi Arabia, whose governments have called on the Palestinian resistance to lay down their arms. The Chinese demand comes on the same day that Israeli Interior Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir declared all-out war on Hamas. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, authorities registered more than 30,000 people displaced following an attack by an armed group that left over 30 people dead. The attack left also at least 13 injured in a church during a vigil. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs expressed its concern for 38,000 Congolese who had just arrived in Ituri province and are still missing. OSHA explained that insecurity has led to the suspension of humanitarian movements on the main supply routes in the Irumo territory, which has interrupted vital assistance in the area. And South Africa hosts this Wednesday and Thursday the G20 Labour and Employment Ministers meeting. The meeting's agenda focused on key priorities such as inclusive growth and youth employment, general equality in the workplace, combating inequality and declining labour income, among others. South Africa reaffirms the country's commitment to social justice, the strengthening of labour rights, and the search for models that generate decent employment throughout the world.
Our presidency places a very strong emphasis on
And every year, several Cuban cultural institutions organize a wide range of recreational options for the month of July and August, coinciding with the school break. From Havana, Eric Mendez with details.
Dicen que Cuba es un eterno verano.
People say that Cuba is an eternal summer. However, in the months of July and August, when temperatures rise, cultural options multiply. Located in one of the most central areas of Havana, the Cuba Pavilion bears witness to this. During the summer season, this space becomes a favorite for the whole family, especially for the youngest members of the family.
Sobre todo para los más pequeños.
It was very nice here. I liked it very much. I want all the children to come to the fair.
Come here to the fair, because this place is a lot of fun, and it is our passion to play together.
Yes, I made a new friend. He's laughing over there with the cats.
This is a lot of fun for the kids and I like it.
Cada año, la Feria de la Cultura Cubana.
Every year, the Cuban Culture Fair, Art on the Ramp, becomes one of the main options for the enjoyment of the residents of Havana and those who visit the city during these days.
Sobre el escenario están no solo los artistas.
On the stage are not only established artists, but also the youngest ones. teleSUR's visit coincided with the presentation of a dance company made up of girls between 3 and 12 years of age.
Entre 3 y 12 años de edad.
It just so happens that today is the one-year anniversary of the founding of my youth ballet. We just premiered it here at the Art on the Ramp, an invitation from the Cuban Fund for Cultural Goods. I am very grateful to all of them for having us here, and well, all this gives us the opportunity to be seen by a wider public and to move to other places in the city.
Art
on the Ramp is also a space for traditions. Every week, the fair allows peasant music to take over the city center.
Se apodere del centro de la ciudad.
In the pavilion, such an important center for Havana, to demonstrate that traditions are still alive, especially in children and young people. This is very good. It has been a long time since something like this was done. The last time something like this was done was in 2002.
It is a way to keep the tradition alive, the country music. It is also a way to pay homage to Tomasita, an icon of the Cuban music.
En su edición 24,
the Art on the Ramp Fair becomes not only a showcase for Cuban culture, but also a space for the whole family to enjoy. A cultural oasis to escape, for a while, from the heat of the Caribbean summer.
Del calor del verano caribeño. Eric Méndez, teleSUR, La Habana.
With this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.
So I have a hot take. AI is not just a buzzword if you use Monday CRM.
I'm so glad you said that. So for me, email